In this video, I'm going to demonstrate doing a cold start on a Springfield Phantom 1. So there's not a whole lot of difference between a Springfield Phantom 1 and a British Phantom 1, except for perhaps the fuel valve for the autovac. So on the Springfield and most of the British cars, you're going to have this plunger valve. And in this case, it's open. When it's shut, it's down. So what you do is you lift it and you turn it a little bit clockwise, and then it'll latch in the upward position. If you have a later British Phantom 1, you may have a circular valve on the underside of the autovac. And of course, the autovac will be on the other side of the car. So that's turning the fuel on. We have the fuel on at the autovac. So now we go into the driver's compartment. Everything out here is fine. This is a car that's in regular use. So we don't have to do any other steps. If it is a car that's not in regular use, you may need to do some other things. So we step in the car. And then we have the throttle over here, and we have ignition timing over here. Now you want these to be both at the very, very bottom. Not here, but here. And you want to make your mixture strong, like so. Then you turn your ignition switch on to the on position. I'm not going to leave it on for a moment because we'll turn it back on again, because I wanted to talk a little bit more. You don't want to turn your ignition on and leave it on for any length of time. You want to turn it on and then start the car. But I did want to explain a little bit about the action of the key. So you don't really need the key to operate the switch box. You can either lock it or unlock it, and if it's in the unlocked position, you can still turn the switch, or you can put the key in and turn it and lock it, and then it'll be locked, and you can't do that. So you don't necessarily need the key if the switch box is unlocked. Now, this is a slightly earlier Springfield Phantom 1. So the starter button is right there down on the firewall. There were some much later Phantom 1s, Springfield Phantom 1s, that had a starter button on the dash. So this one's down here, and this is so that you can get access with it with your foot. So and then another thing you got to be aware of is your radiator shutter control if you have manually operated radiator shutters. This is summertime. I'm just leaving them full open. Really not much of a reason to have them shut unless you just wanted the appearance. Now, be careful when you're pushing the button with your shoe, the starter button, that you're not catching the foot throttle with the heel of your boot or shoe or whatever and pushing that down, because it's very important for the throttle to be completely closed when you're using your starting carburetor. Now, your starting carburetor lever is this device, and on a lot of cars it's spring loaded, and they did that because they didn't want you leaving the starting carburetor on for any length of time. Okay, so we have our throttle down, our governor down, mixture strong. We're now going to give it a start. Turn the ignition on. You'll notice there are different ignition switch configurations. Some of them have ways you can turn on separate ignition. Some of them have charging switch with ignition and all that. So in this case, we only get ignition on this one. So yeah, so now we have the ignition on. We lift the starting carburetor. Now in this case, I only used the starting carburetor for a bit of time, and then I went to the hand throttle, because then I was just able to get it enough of a prime, enough of a suction of raw gas to get it going. So I'll demonstrate that again. Here at the hand controls. Ignition on, throttle down. I'm not going to use a starting carburetor because I already had it started. So we'll let it crank. And then quickly pick up your throttle, maybe 3/4 of the way. Then we bring the timing all the way up to the very top. Bring down your throttle a little bit. Then we can lean out our mixture. And we just let it warm up for a bit. Now I did want to show this to you. If you move your mixture over to the far strong setting, it will affect your oil pressure. And that's because it's opening your extra oil valve, and you'll see your oil pressure sink down a little bit. So you might not see it now because it's cold, but let me see if we can get a view of it. So it's at normal setting now. We go way over to strong, and it went down a tiny bit. But a lot of times it'll sink down maybe as much as 5 psi or so. So be ready for that. And it's another good reason why you don't want to leave it over in a strong position. So that is the starting procedure. Every car can be slightly different from one to the next. Some want a lot of starting carburetor, some want just a little bit of starting carburetor. You just have to get the feel of what your car is and what it likes. And also shutting down, you want to shut down your hand throttle and then turn off your ignition. Otherwise, you're liable to get a very loud backfire. And this is something that is explained in the handbook in case you doubt me. Thank you for watching.